Почитувани, добар ден. Гостинка во неделното интервју на Радио Слободна Европа е германската амбасадорка во Македонија, госпојата Кристине Алтхаузер. Амбасадорка, како гледате на политичката криза во Македонија поврзана со полициската акција Пуч и со аферата преслушување што ја објави неодамна опозицијата?
So we are indeed very concerned about the crisis, which is, in our view, the culmination of the political backsliding we have witnessed in this country over the last years. So by prosecuting Mr. Zoran Zaev and other accused individuals, the functioning of the opposition, the democratic opposition, is put into question. So we call upon the Macedonian authorities to solve the severe allegations in a fair and transparent manner in accordance with international legal standards and practices amongst which the presumption of innocence is of crucial importance. The independence of the judiciary has to be guaranteed. The crisis, at the same time, offers for the Macedonian authorities and institutions a unique and once upon a lifetime a real challenge and opportunity to live up and to show their capacities and commitment to democratic standards. And lastly, I would like to say that the German embassy, together with our international partners within the EU and others, of course, as well, we will continue to closely follow what's going on in the country. So we'll closely monitor future developments, including the work of the judicial institutions in the country.
Што би им порачале на власта и на опозицијата за надминување на разликите и за решавање на политичката криза? Од едната страна опозицијата тврди дека нема доверба во институциите затоа што тие се под владење на владеачката гарнитура, од друга страна владеачката партија ВМРО-ДПМН ги негира ваквите обвинувања и тврди дека опозицијата соработува со странски служби. Каква е вашата порака до нив?
You said it already, so it's an extremely difficult situation. So on the one hand, we can't overlook that there are serious allegations which have been leveled by the opposition based on the revealed tape recordings. In addition, both sides meanwhile have filed criminal charges against each other. So the judiciary has a very important role to play within this process. And I would like to draw your attention to the 2014 progress report by the European Commission, which voiced concern, serious concerns even, regarding the political influence on the judiciary. If the recordings are authentic, then they seem to support the concerns by the Commission. These are very serious concerns which have to be addressed by the authorities immediately and in a serious and thorough way. For example, through an explanation by the government regarding the substance of the wiretaps. And then on the other hand, the judiciary is not competent to deal and to solve the other open issues, which have been also mentioned in the progress report. Just let me name it. So separation of party and state, independence of the media, freedom of speech and rule of law in a broader sense. These are genuine political questions which have to be addressed by the political powers in your country. So political dialogue is one prerequisite, in our view, for overcoming the current crisis. And to put these things together, we see the need for a parallel approach to come out of the current impasse. Dialogue between the political forces in good faith and in open spirit, that's important, while in parallel a judicial investigation by an independent judiciary has to be made as well. And it's quite clear none of this will come overnight, but entering into a political dialogue can open opportunities for progress on the issues at hand. And very important, needless to say, that political dialogue should take place inside, I stress, inside the parliament. For this to happen, parliament needs to create the conditions for its own unbiased work.
Каков е вашиот коментар околу информацијата на опозицијата дека се прислушувани и амбасадори во земјава од страна на владеачките структури?
Like all of my colleagues who have spoken publicly on this issue, the German embassy also has taken note of these announcements by Mr. Zoran Zaev. We have no further information about whether or not members of the German embassy have been wiretapped. But I would like to use the opportunity, and I would just like to state that we do hope that the Macedonian authorities have lived up to their obligations under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, which obliged them to ensure the security of the embassy, of its staff, including secrecy of their communication. And this obligation is independent of the question who might have ordered potential recordings.
Кои се можните последици од непочитувањето на Виенската конвенција?
There would be investigation, so it would be settled later, yeah.
Може ли Германија и Европската унија да помогнат во воспоставување на политички диалог?
We do hope, and Germany firmly supports Commissioner Johannes Hahn's initiative to mediate in the conflict between government and opposition, including, as I just mentioned, the observation of a judicial investigation into the allegations. But in the meantime, as you know, these disclosures continue unrelieved and undempt, further tightening up the crisis. But it's quite clear, the further the crisis is deepening, the more difficult any mediation effort becomes. So we expect both sides to clearly and unambiguously commit to the offered mediation by the European Union without any delay, and to enter into negotiations on the scope and the mandate. It's of course very important, of a mediation, as well as on an implementation supervision mechanism for the achieved results.
Реална ли е опасноста Македонија да ја изгуби препораката за старт на преговори со Европската унија во октомври, доколку дотогаш не се реши политичката криза?
Another difficult question, but issuing a recommendation for the start of EU accession negotiations is the sole responsibility of the European Commission. So I'm not in a position to answer your questions directly. But in addition, I believe that your question is a bit premature, since we are now at the end of March, while a decision on this will and has to be taken by the European Commission by October this year. But if your question is meant to ask whether the country has to make serious and fully committed efforts to preserve the recommendation, my answer would be yes, of course. Like in previous years, a recommendation should not be taken for granted, but a recommendation is a result of progress recognized by the Commission in a candidate country. So progress is measured in relation to the so-called, Copenhagen criteria, amongst which are all the areas of concern that I have already mentioned before. We will have to wait if the Commission can identify enough progress in order to arrive at a new recommendation. And let me add another sentence. The handling of the current crisis, especially by the government and the institutions, will surely serve as an indicator of their commitment to your country's Euro-Atlantic path. And those indications will be taken into account when defining the EU's future policies concerning the country.
Ви благодарам за разговорот.
Thank you.
Вам почитувани, ви благодарам што го следевте неделното интервју на Радио Слободна Европа. Пријатно.